about 25 years ago, and we always wanted to get back. So this was kind of our dream shot to come back to the Oregon coast, and we just kind of fell in love with Bandon and wanted to be here. Activities, I do a lot of outside stuff. I'm a birder. I love to walk the beach, hike trails, kayak, those types of things.
Aw,
Cool.
well, welcome. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Nice to see you.
Do you guys want to do a really brief introduction so that Wade can get to know you a little bit via Zoom, other than just you're in Hawaii?
Yeah, I am Samantha Stanger. Gosh, I was on Parks and Rec for a couple years, and then we just reformed the tree subcommittee, and so we've been doing that for about a year now, guys. Is it been
Yeah.
about a year? Yeah. Which is fantastic, and moved to Bandon about 3 years ago, but I'm moving to Port Orford in April, so woohoo.
Congrats. I love Port Orford, but we'll miss you here in Bandon.
Yeah. How about you, Luria?
Well, let's see. Roy and I moved here in '99, and we have lived other places and kept our house here because of family things that we needed to do. But this is our home, and we love it here. And we used to do a lot of RVing. We don't do that anymore, but we try to keep an eye on this wonderful town of ours, and love our friends, and glad to still be on a committee with all of you, and look forward to serving with you, Wade.
Likewise. Yep. Nice to meet you both.
Same.
Okay. Do you want to?
Sam?
Hmm.
Are you going to do the meeting?
Oh, you guys want, sorry, it keeps kind of going in and out, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing everyone, but I can run it if we'd like. Let me go to.
No, you should be up. I think maybe you just have to get close to it. I think our
Oh,
problem
can
is,
you hear me now? Oh, there we go.
yeah, it's hard to hear in this room. So we'll just make sure we're talking pretty close to the mic.
We can
No
just
worries.
in discussion,
Yep.
the agenda, if whoever wants to start, where Jason had some things, Sam wanted pruning on there. So whoever wants to start.
Yeah, I'll lead it. All right, so open discussion 2.1, pruning of adolescent trees in City Park. I haven't sent you guys a map about this, but directly west of the park host spot in City Park, there is quite a large area of 5 to 10-year-old trees. There's a bunch of Sitka spruce, shore pine, Pacific wax myrtle, and a couple other things in there. And I think with Public Works, we should work out some sort of system where we are pruning our adolescent trees in City Park, the ones that are already there, the ones that we didn't have to plant, in order to be a healthy ecosystem. Right now, they're really, really like close together. There's probably about 40 trees that are all kind of smushed together. And because of that type of growth in the past with City Park, that's why we have so many issues with our shore pine and everything now, is because they grew up so close together and they weren't able to like fully form into trees. They became very spindly and searching for the light, and we are reaping the consequences of that nowadays with so many trees falling over. And so I wanted to propose to Public Works and whatnot, doing like an annual pruning, or even we can just, I don't know, you guys can help me out, or maybe we can send in a tree pruning permit for Public Works to come in and just have it be like a by case scenario, or we can do an annual type of pruning thing. But I figure we should just really take care of the trees that we have in City Park, and so that we don't have issues down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, this is something that Tim and I were just talking about that exact location. And I know
nice.
I know you say pruning. Do you think also maybe some thinning, or?
Oh yeah, I'd say pruning and removal. There's so many like little guys in there that can just like be knocked down and knocked out of there.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm.
Is the
So,
request
oh, go ahead.
I'm just curious, is your request to have Public Works do the work or to have someone else do the work and you want a Public Works permit to do that?
I'm not sure what would be the best thing. I think I just wanted to bring it to the table here so we can all discuss what is the best way to move forward and what works with Public Works and
I think,
what works best.
I think Tim is willing to do the work. I won't speak for him, but I think it would help if, maybe you marked the ones that either wanted to stay or you wanted to go, or if I don't know,
Mhm.
have discussion about that, or if you have a pretty clear grasp on how you want to thin it.
Yeah. What I would do is I'd probably bring in either Jim from Blue Sky or Will from Savage, and I'd probably consult with him on what would be the best trees to thin out. And then yeah, we can come in and mark. My business as well, Samsara LLC, we can come through and mark things and take things down. Everything's pretty small, so it'd probably be a lopper job. But yeah, just whatever works best for the city, I'd be happy to go through and kind of formulate a plan and a map of what needs to be taken down and pruned. But I'm not sure what's best for City Park of who should do the work type of thing. If Public Works wants to do that, or if we want to hire out, I don't know.
Well, I'm just gonna bring up, remember when we told somebody from the Public Works Department to mow some land and then they mowed down the newly planted plants?
Right.
My initial reaction is like, it's not gonna probably happen how you want it to happen or how maybe it should happen.
The pruning.
Mhm.
The pruning without, maybe I think your idea of like having a consultant there or somebody there could be like a train the trainer kind of deal where
Mhm.
like, someone comes out and teaches Public Works how to properly prune
That'd be great.
these trees, and then we can feel more comfortable with giving them that task in the future. But I think, yeah, Tim sounded like they could do it.
Yeah,
They might just not do it the way
That's-
you want them to.
yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, yeah, so the taking out marked trees, that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah,
Thinning.
yeah.
Let's do that. So maybe over the next month when I get back, I will consult with probably both Jim and Will. We'll come out and we'll do a marking and kind of formulate a map and a plan. And then at the next meeting that we have, we can present that, get it approved type of thing, and then have Public Works come in and do the physical work type of thing.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and I think what we would have Public Works do, or maybe this is what we do, is just fill out one of those tree removal permits so that we have a record of it for next year's Arbor Day application.
Perfect.
I don't think like if you guys are filling out the permit that you're also going to be the one approving it, so we'll probably just toss it straight to Parks and Rec for approval.
Sounds good. Perfect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And do we have, if we're bringing in outside, we do have a budget to be able to cover those costs?
That one's probably a little tougher. I mean, there's definitely a budget. We have a maintenance budget on Tim's side. I don't know. We'd probably want to get a cost estimate first to make sure that we are not going over whatever that budget is or encroaching into some sort of territory where we would need to get multiple
Yeah.
bids. So
Yeah.
I'd say if we have an idea of what it's going to cost, let's toss that to Tim.
Okay.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So that in a way ties into the next item, which I had brought up, which was planning. It's not specific to pines, but Tim and I had talked about places we could just bomb with pines because they're free, and they do well. But way overplanting in a couple key areas with the idea that what's left over will eventually need thinned. But like the one area was just across I guess it's the story walk from the new pollinator garden, which Sam had identified in the reforestation plan as a really
Yeah.
droughty windswept area where we need to build up a kind of a better windbreak.
Mhm.
And I have a map where Tim and I kind of sketched it out. There's a couple more areas a little more to the east, but just want to float the idea of if we could do another planning this winter before spring to get some more trees in there established.
Mhm.
And what you thought about that and how that might happen.
Yeah, I mean, we had kind of discussed in the past, with Dana setting up more wind blocks along the northwest and northeast side of the park. And so this last year we were doing more of it like interspersed, like, putting trees with the other trees and following the map. But I think this year coming up, those can be our focus areas, are those northern ends of the park. I know that we have some money in budget for purchasing trees, but we can always find more shore pine as well. Do you guys want to kind of keep exclusively to shore pine in that area, or do we want to diversify?
I don't see any reason why it has to be just pines. I just thought of it because I've got a ton of them that I'm digging up in my yard because they're in places I don't like them, and
Mhm.
Tim could tell you a bunch of places where he wants them gone too, so.
Yeah, I'd say we set up another acclimation station, and last year we weren't taking shore pine because we were pulling from that southeast end of the park. But the trees, the shore pine on the southeast of the park, are starting to get too big to be pulling them from that area. So I'd say let's just set up the same thing where we have citizens donate shore pine, because last year I probably had like 50 people come to me that were like, I have shore pine to donate. And we were like, we're not taking them this year. So let's just set that up for conifer donations and say that shore pine's open. And I'm sure we'd get probably a couple hundred in there pretty quickly.
Is there like a minimum duration that they need to be in the acclimation station?
No, I think it's good to have them there. I mean, we can set that up, I'd say in March, April. It's good to have them there for a summer season to just have those northerly winds, that consistent wind really
I
beat
was-
them up.
I was actually pushing for something this winter. It wouldn't have to be a formal effort. I was thinking more just digging them and planting them, not acclimating.
Oh, you mean this winter? Okay. The only reason that may be difficult, I mean, if the city wants to do that, I'd say go for it. There's no hurt in trying and putting more trees in. It's just a really long drought season between May and October. And the little shore pine, if they haven't really established roots deep into the ground yet, and they'd have to be watered, a lot of them, over the summer season. Last year, we didn't have a speckle of rain for almost 4.5 months. And everything you plant that's new, that doesn't have any irrigation or supplemental watering, is totally going to perish without water for 4 months. So that's the only reason we've been planting
Yeah.
in November, is because we don't have the resources, the money, or the crew, the manpower to be going out and watering.
I
three,
would not,
400.
I wouldn't want to plant them in a way that would require irrigation. So I'm
Yeah.
hearing is that the window for natural establishment kind of ends in November or December.
Yeah, I'd say November, December. I mean, I do still some planting in January. So, if it's something we want to do towards the end of this month, I'd be like, sure, we've got a couple months of moisture still coming in. But the survival rate decreases significantly with planting in early spring here.
Yeah, okay. So
Mhm.
I don't know what that means then for my idea in terms of like the numbers I was considering. It might be something that we would need to roll into next year's November tree planting. I don't want,
Yeah.
I do not want to put the watering responsibility on Tim, so. And I'd also rather see trees that can make it on their own without any of that stuff, so.
Mhm. Yeah, the first year that we planted, we had a lot of citizens that were concerned about the watering, and we had planted in late November. And even with a late November planting, the summer drought and those northerly winds really, I mean, we lost probably 40% of the trees just from that. And then we had a lot of like mowing and things going on. It was a good learning year for us.
Yeah.
And what we really recognized was that not only do they need like the whole winter of moisture to get established, but they also need like 6-7 months sitting out, getting beat up by the wind, essentially, just to harden them off. It's kind of like taking a really beautiful plant from a greenhouse and putting it
Yeah.
outside. There always has to be like a hardening period going from one climate to the other, especially if we're having people donate trees. A lot of those trees are coming up in areas that are shady, protected, just a lot it's just a different environment than City Park. City Park can be pretty brutal.
Sam, sorry, really just one quick question. Did you water the plants in the acclimation station this summer?
Um, I did not, but Danny did.
Danny did. Okay. I feel like
Mhm.
I don't think we have Danny this summer. So that's something else to
Mhm.
think about, that if the plants are going in the acclimation station, that may fall to the
Mhm.
planning department or public works.
How
Yeah,
about,
I mean, oh, go ahead, sorry.
well, another issue is that Tim would prefer the acclimation station be somewhere less visible, I think is what the vibe I got from him.
Okay.
He thought it looked unkempt, I guess, is a one way of saying it. Not that you didn't do a good job of maintaining it. I think it's, but is there a reason it has to be right there off of the road and versus?
No, no,
Okay.
no. I think the only reason that we put it there was to get the word out
Oh, okay,
about it. Um,
that's good.
but you know, like it was a great learning, another
It is-
lesson type of thing of like, since we've got the word out there, I mean, we can just put things out in coffee break or even signs in City Park. That's like, if you want to donate trees, then call this number and we can set that acclimation station. I would prefer the station to be where the trees are going to be planted. Because that's where the tree. So if it's going to be like off in the northwest or northeast side of the park, that's a bit more hidden. I'm 100% for that. Like, heck yeah, no worries.
Can I just say though, also, that acclimation station was good optics for the
Yeah.
community. And yeah, it didn't look spiffy, but it had a purpose. And I can't think of anyone that mentioned how tickled they were to see all those trees in there waiting to be planted that said, but oh, it looked terrible. Um, you know, I liked the optics of it right there, because then people saw it, they saw the sign, they had an idea of what was happening with those trees. Um, I'd hate to, well, part of me would hate to lose that. I get it.
I like that side of it too, I'll be honest. So I think it may just be an issue if we could have a receiving area for donations that fulfilled that role. And then.
Yeah, and we can
shift
make it
them
look
over.
nicer too.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
just
you know,
threw all that together, guys. I was like, that's an old painted sign, and let's paint on it and stick it on the ground. And like, I'm so down to make it look way better.
yeah,
And
but at the same time, it was cute, and it had a certain charm in its look. So, but yeah, I mean, I people were noticing, and they were asking about all the stuff that was starting to happen more and more in the park. So
great. Yeah,
I think any of that is always a good thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
The only thing that I could see or reason for moving it is the location it was at last time. There was nowhere to like pull over and
Mm.
drop them off. So it might make
Mhm.
more sense to put it where you're thinking about putting the trees, but closer to where the parking lot is, so that it's a little.
Yeah.
Because I think, Sam, you felt comfortable like pulling up into the grass and doing that, but I don't think the average Bandon citizen is sort of willing to do that. So
totally, totally. I think
I
the
mean, couldn't it
requirement.
be?
Oh,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No worries.
Well,
I think the requirements for the acclimation station is it needs to be close to a water source. So we can set up a watering committee. Easy. We can send out a thing to Friends of Bandon Parks and be like, here, we need one person or a group of people to come and water the acclimation station once a week. And we can like have slots filled out. People could fill in their name for which week they come in. People all the time ask me what they can be doing to help out. So a watering committee would be easy. So we need to be close to a water source. We need it to be able to acclimate. We need people to know what's going on, but the acclimation station doesn't need to be next to the sign that says what's going on. We can still coordinate like we did last year, where people would call me and be like, I've got this and this and this, where do I drop it? And then we'd work together. I'd usually go and pick them up, type of thing, and then drop it in the station for them. So it's just sign and recognition, watering, and a space to put the plants is really it. So we can work around those parameters, whichever works best for the committee and also for Tim, for the city, for maintenance, for all those things.
Will there be no host or just not Danny?
I think just not Danny. I think there's always a host there. Yeah.
Mm.
But Danny, so there'd be a park host, but Danny was hired on separate to do additional summer work for Public Works.
Oh,
So it was outside of his host duty
Got it.
that he was doing the mowing and the watering.
okay.
Yeah.
Let's,
Brainstorm on that a little bit. Let's come up with some ideas.
yeah,
And then asked him, what he'd prefer. Because if he doesn't like the spot and it's unsightly and all that kind of stuff, I'm so happy to work around what works best for him.
I just want to be sure you understand. I love this, what Lori brought up about the optics and the outreach educational side of it. That's awesome. So I
Mhm.
don't want that to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we just make the sign look better.
I love the sign. I think that art is in the eye of the beholder, and Tim clearly doesn't have the eye for art. So you did a good job.
You guys want to move on to the next item, which is also one I brought up, which is the berm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So this is another issue Tim and I had discussed, which is that the Monterey cypress are wreaking havoc on the asphalt on the roadways that they are close to.
Are they lifting the
Yeah.
sidewalk with their roots?
Yeah, so like at the ones that are closer to the on the other side by the library, they're just having to recondition the paving every few years,
yeah,
accommodate for that. But ideally with the berm, Tim would like to see another, those trees are planted so close to the roadway on the berm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody obviously considered the effect they might have on the road, so.
Mhm.
The idea I want us to consider is whether we would put in a more appropriate species or a different species that could be establishing and eventually kill those cypress and let the others grow in.
Yeah. There's a lot of trees that, Monterey cypress, just like a Sitka spruce, they have surface roots that come out and pop up all your asphalt and concrete. And even though they're very stable trees and they hold up against the wind and whatnot, they do wreak havoc on landscaping. So there are a lot of tree species like the shore pine that have more of a tap root that goes down
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
spreading. It doesn't lift the ground. I will compile a list for you of not only coniferous but deciduous trees that don't behave like that, do that more taproot thing that'll work in that environment, and then I'll just send that over to you and we can kind of go back and forth on what would be best to fill out. I can also work with Darcy just a little bit, ask her about what would be the best species for that type of environment and keeping away from spreading surface roots.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Tim likes to stay away from Sitka spruce and all that kind of stuff. If anything's going to be within like 30 or 40 feet of a sidewalk or a parking lot, he's like, no. And I'm like, yep.
Jason, where exactly is this? You said-
This is there's what they're calling the berm that was
You can pull it up on a map. So
there's a berm that was created with fill from one of the cranberry growers. I don't remember why it was created. It might have been for drainage issues. I'm not positive.
This is in near City Park?
It says right by the library.
By the
Yeah,
library.
so it's on the north edge of City Park, the northwest corner of City Park.
Mhm.
And then the other part of it that is we would be eventually killing those cypress. So I'm not hearing any opposition to that here.
No, I think Monterey cypress they're a beautiful tree, but they are high maintenance, man. The wind is always blowing those branches out and they do like to wreak all sorts of havoc on the surface of things. So I'm not opposed to that in any fashion.
I think something that the tree subcommittee should discuss is whether or not we want to continue to protect Monterey cypresses the way that we have, because our code has a much higher penalty for the removal of Monterey cypresses than any other tree in the city. And I believe that stems from a desire whenever this tree ordinance was written to protect those
Yeah.
that particular species because it's like iconic to Bandon. I think for folks like Sam and I who, we're like new to town and I think they are pretty, but I'm like, they're not native. I'm not sure that they're really like providing that much to us, especially in the way of like they're causing some harm. So it may take some education to our community as well.
Mhm.
As to, like why we're removing these and why we're maybe no longer going to protect them in the way we have in the past.
You'll probably get a lot of blowback.
Yep, I think you're right.
Mhm.
Because I can remember, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, people would, the whole town literally uproared because people were cutting out trees, the cypress trees, the Monterey's. So I would do it carefully and slowly because like you said, you're going to have to re-educate
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, I
expect
find it.
them,
Oh, sorry. I guess I find it really, really interesting that that tree, that species is protected more than the other coniferous species in town. I just find that to be very interesting. I know that they sit up on the edge of the cliff, and they look iconic and they got their, they can hold up in the windstorm and everything else. But
But that's all of it. That's all
I
of it
find
right
it to
there.
be I find it
Yeah.
to be interesting that there's any more protection on a non-native tree than any of our native conifers. Like to me, a Sitka spruce or a western hemlock or any of those types of trees are just as important as a Monterey cypress. So
But
I
what
do
do you
think
see in pictures? What do you see in pictures of coastal pictures? They look for those gnarly, awesome,
Mhm.
interesting looking Monterey's to take pictures
So
with the ocean behind. So that's why. I mean, they are iconic. People expect to see them.
yeah.
So
That'll be something we'll need to talk about and do a little bit of research and maybe it's not about removing the protection from the Monterey cypress more as like upping the protections of all the other trees so it's not like taking something away from people, but that's just something we'll kind of need to like I don't know, formulate and do some
yeah.
education, a little bit of research on, a little R&D.
I think that's a great idea because so it's a $1,500 fine for removing any tree, but if you remove a Monterey cypress, it goes up to 3,000. So maybe it's just an amendment to change just the overall fine. I think we should talk about it
Mhm.
further, and maybe even do, I don't know, some sort of, we might be asking for it, but doing a little public info session or something like that to just kind of gauge interest. Because I also,
Mhm.
my experience here has been like some issues stick from, a thing that was an issue in 1990 is still an issue now. And some
Right.
things that were an issue then just aren't really that interesting to folks anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe worth
My
checking on that. And then the one other thing would be a lot of these trees are now falling down and breaking. And Tim is spending a lot of time, especially the ones on school district property, helping to sort of keep them alive when in reality if we were just treating them like any other tree we'd probably just be taking them down. So we're probably not going to see planting of that many more. The population's only going to dwindle is my guess from here on out, unless there's a landscaper still planting them out there. I don't know. But
Yeah,
One
I think
one
education is a oh go ahead. Sorry. I've got a little
I'm
bit of a
sorry.
lag.
Well, I just to add on to the end of that, all I was going to say is, there's a way of using the citizen involvement committee to host the information session and maybe hold something at the barn or in the city hall meeting room there and see, if we can show people Get people like Darcy and et cetera, and show people, why the Monterey may not always be the right tree, even as beautiful as it is for certain areas in particular, and then therefore change how people view the removal of them.
Mm. I still see, I go around from landscape to landscape and I still see people planting Monterey cypress 6 feet apart in a line, 20 feet from their house. So people have no idea, and landscaping peeps are not really educating them, and those types of plantings, I'm like, oh my God, in 10, 20 years, you've not only destroyed your utilities, you have to chop them down because they're under your power lines and they're going to whatever, and they're now hanging over your house and they're causing all this damage. So I do think education around Monterey cypress will be a great thing, but also education with other trees
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
When we do Arbor Day events, that could be something with Arbor Day events. It could be
Yeah.
something that we send out with Friends of Bandon newsletters type of thing. I don't know. I think we should just do some research and come back to this subject. Yeah, because there's a lot of different angles here that we can hit this.
Those are some good work sessions.
Yeah, I think good call about Arbor Day being a good way to sort of start or facilitate the conversation. So I'm going to ask, I think Nikki's taking notes. Can you put Monterey Cypress discussion on our agenda for next time? And then we'll just think about how we might get information out there or survey people about Monterey cypresses or something like that at
We
our
can get a little excerpt too from Darcy. I mean, you want to talk to somebody who really does not like Monterey cypress? Darcy Grayek will give you a little excerpt of all the reasons why. And it's like, it does not create fodder for all of our native species. It doesn't create food. It's a maintenance nightmare. It is a huge tree, all sorts of things going on. So if we need some professional input here from a source that's trusted in town, we can gather that information as well.
I'm gonna use it as a segue for one of the items because Darcy did mention at the Park and Rec meeting that she wanted to have a conversation with the tree committee.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna be setting up a meeting, but I feel like that's the perfect opportunity to have her
Yeah.
discuss whatever she wanted. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what it was about that she mentioned at the Park and Rec, what she wanted to talk about with this committee, but I think that's a good opportunity to also get her input for what we're talking about with the Monterey.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
think generally she wanted to talk to you all about what I think there was a question about whether or not there's an opportunity to plant fruit bearing trees or berries or something like that, bringing more native food into the mix. And then also whether or not there's a need for more tree purchases because she would have the opportunity to purchase them at a discount in bulk.
Right.
So we wanted to bring that to you to sort of have that discussion. And
Mhm.
I feel like there was another one. There was some good conversation. We can provide you with a link to the meeting if you want to zip through it, but get to the
Okay.
part where we had a lot of folks from the public who were had a lot of questions. Oh, I think it was also that should we build into the budget for Parks and Rec this year more money for trees? And I think there was a question of like, well, how much will those projects cost, or do we need money, or what does that look like? So that might be something that tree subcommittee can discuss of like, what's your budgetary request for the next year? Because we'll be doing,
Yeah.
be starting the budget process in February. I think it wraps up in April, May. So if we have, budget, that's how we do it.
I will put together a first draft cost estimate of the end of year planting and what that looks like if we're going to purchase trees type of thing, so that you have something on paper.
That's great, because that's what I said. They were asking if the city could support that effort more, and I said, I don't know what it costs, so I can't really give you a yes or no. So I think that if
I
you
got
could
you.
put it together, then we could try to get that in the budget.
Cool.
Awesome.
So do we want to meet with Darcy at the next meeting and have her attend
Yeah.
in February? Would that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say let's do next meeting, and then we'll just come prepared with some stuff. If we want to do like a work session too
Yeah.
with her before or after that, I think that'd be a
Awesome.
good idea as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that tree.
Oh,
permit.
the community garden, Sam, I'm gonna let you delve into this. It is two separate applications. Tim did sign off. He said he thinks it would improve the garden, so he says they're good to
Yeah.
go. But Sam, I think
Perfect.
that's how they're actually two separate applications.
Yeah.
Like one.
Yeah, so in October, we approved the removal of a couple of shore pine and the heavy pruning of Monterey cypress around the greenhouse. Everything was just like laying over it, and
Right.
it was just a dang mess. So she got the funding for that and the approval for that, and then Savage Tree Care came in and did the work, I think in this November or December. But they also had a separate section, which just took a little bit more funding and information. There's a line of shore pine that runs along the east side of the community garden. And when I first came to consult with them on the project, I wasn't sure if the trees were in city park, right of way, or on the neighbor's property. So I told them that they needed to go and gather information for that. They had Will come in, give them a cost estimate, and then they gathered the funding for that separate project. I believe it's the trimming of 3 trees towards the street and then the removal of the 7 that are towards the north side. And it is twofold benefits. One, it allows more light into the park or into the community garden so that more of the plots are accessible. The plots that were on the east side of the park were heavily shaded for most of the day. And so the people that were purchasing plots were upset if they got the east side plot because you couldn't grow as many vegetables and stuff that you do in a community garden. And then the second item was they were actually pretty hazardous. A lot of them are hanging over the neighbor's house type of thing. So I believe that's all that was included in that second one, was just the pruning and the removal of those. I think it's 10 trees.
I'm looking at it right now. I think you hit them all. Yeah.
Mhm. So
I have a question just on the general permit process. So in this permit application, they talk about basically deferring the cost through expense gained by the garden. So when citizen puts in a permit, are they required to fund the activity, the action? Yeah.
They are. So the permit includes the sort of check boxes there. Those are the decisions or the ways that this commission or committee can make a decision. So if the trees are found to be noxious by Public Works, then usually Public Works covers the cost of that. Like if it's an sort of like active issue, it's usually imminent and they take it down and they provide us this permit, but as like an afterthought, because it has to come down. If it's voluntary, where the property owner would like to remove it for any reason other than like it's an immediate danger, then they are required to both pay for the work and pay for the replacement cost for a tree. Yeah, I guess we could have given you a little background on what this committee does.
I read the box.
Okay, yeah. Making recommendations to the Parks and Rec Commission about tree removals is one of the like key reasons why this group split off from Parks and Rec, because we would spend about an hour having this discussion at a Parks and Rec meeting and it was not functional. So this is more like discusses things and then gifts it to you guys to sort of put your rubber stamp on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There anything else? Oh, so do they need to make a recommendation on this one?
I was gonna say, if Tim's I mean, I make a recommendation to approve. They came with all the funding and everything, and I think it's great. So I motion to approve.
Second.
And then so our recommendation is to approve and then they're gonna pick up the cost.
Yeah, so usually this commission will recommend approval to the Parks and Rec Commission. So Parks and Rec, because they're appointed by the city council, they're the only one who can actually make the decision. So this committee does all the discussion and sort of the technical legwork to make it happen. And so you'll make this recommendation is to recommend approval to the Parks and Rec Commission to allow for this. removal. And then, so they're asking to remove trees too, in addition to pruning?
Yeah, they're doing the
Yes.
three trees pruning and then 7 removals.
And so are they proposing to plant in lieu or pay? I just want to make sure that's included as part of the, motion.
When I talked to Susie last, her plan was to donate trees to city park planting because technically the community garden sits on city land and they don't want to be planting any trees in there. So I said I would discuss that with you guys, whether we could do, she can donate 7 to 10 trees for our next planting or pay the
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah, it says that on the application. They check marked replace 1 for 1. And then we'll work with Sam Stanger to ensure replacements.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm working all off my phone today, guys. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I
I'm
just want to make
I'm
sure
trying to
that
keep
that's
trying to find
part of,
everything.
no, I just want to make sure that that's part of your motion. So if you're recommending approval, then you're recommending approval with replacement of 1-to-1 to be located on another city-owned property.
And we can say specifically to City Park if
Park.
we need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So it sounds like there was a motion that we amended, so all in favor.
I,
Okay. So we'll write that up and get that on the next Parks and Rec Commission agenda. And then our new process is going to be sending out a letter to the applicant, letting them know that they're approved and what their next steps are, which is to get that public works permit for the actual work. And then they have a period of time in which they can replace those trees.
I will I'll work with her over the next month with the acquisition of those trees and then we'll just I'll have her fill out like a written formal letter, I guess, that says that she's replaced the 7. So we have that for our records.
Yeah, that works. I know Nikki is working on trying to track these better so that when you guys approve and they say they're going to do something, that we're making sure that we're following up that they are. So
good, good, good. Nikki, you go, girl.
she's on it.
Whipping and dipping.
Well, I see on our last item that we pretty much covered it. See if we can get Darcy to.
Yeah, I will send an
Okay,
email
meeting.
out to her today to correspond with the meeting for February.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, any other issues or items that anybody would like to discuss?
I did go and stood and watched as the big tree came down at the start of City Park. And that seems so long ago, but it was fun watching the guys do the process, and they did a great job. And I'm not sure if they wondered why I was standing there watching, but it was a fun process to watch, and I had the moments, so I did that. But it sure looks nice there. It looks clean. You kind of feel like you want to see something there though, because it is quite a bit more open now. But anyway, it looks good. I think I think maybe something smaller, maybe that's a good spot to put some native bushes, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. It just felt a little empty, but that tree really needed to be down.
We can talk to Tim and see what's possible there, if anything.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. I went through the park right before I left to see how our 200 babies were doing from our last planting. And they look amazing. We have a little
My
bit
whole
of,
section is underwater.
yeah. We're getting a lot of water right now. It's exactly what we need. It's good. And then I went through and counted the trees that were already there. You know, we just marked with pink flags, little adolescent trees and native shrubs that were coming up in the park. And there were 57
Yay!
in the areas that we planted, and there was manzanita. There were like 16 redwoods that actually survived from that redwood planting that you guys did with Darcy however long ago. They're just hanging out in the forest in little areas. So we got everything marked off so that people can see them and walk around them and all those kinds of things. Is there anything that we as a tree subcommittee can do about the gorse in City Park? Can we like set up any events where we go through and like cut down gorse or anything, or does Public Works just like take care of all that?
Public Works, that is on their, am I on? Yeah. Public Works, that's on their annual maintenance routine.
Okay.
And that was part of my walkthrough with Tim recently as well.
Okay.
You're talking about picking up the stragglers that are in the pines, yeah?
Oh yeah, and just if there's anything we can do to help, like if there's any sort of event we can coordinate where we can get volunteers to go out or whatever else, so it just doesn't all fall on Public Works kind of thing. I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do.
Yeah, I think Tim will be doing chemical treatment. So,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I
Sounds
wouldn't stop, I wouldn't, I guess, I would accept volunteer help, but not if it's gonna make Tim's work of killing it with herbicide harder. I guess that's what I would say. So
Right.
if you wanted to pull gorse with volunteers, if that's allowed, then that would be okay. I wouldn't want to just cut back, I guess.
Right. It's a lot easier or a lot harder to chemically treat when that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll do a walkthrough when I go back. And if there's a lot of like new gorse coming up, little seedlings, I might take a day with a couple volunteers and just go through and do a picking.
Yeah. We
but
also
I'll-
have, at City Hall, we have weed wrenches. That would be useful to you.
Those things are awesome.
Okay.
Those things are
Well,
awesome.
we got 3 of them here at City Hall, so.
Cool. Okay. Well, once I get back to town, I'll probably take about a week to go through and check it out, and then I'll just report back next meeting.
I will just add to your note about City Park's trees looking really good. One of the exciting things was that this year, knock on wood, so far, we've only lost 2 trees to storms, which like last year in one storm, we lost 75 trees.
Yeah.
This is like, I asked Tim the other day, we got contacted by the county for a damage assessment of how much damage we had during the storm. And he was like, 0. Like we have nothing. It's so limited. So I think that's great because maybe it means that a lot of the trees that have, fallen down over the past are the ones are like the last of the really bad ones. And you guys have done so much amazing work replanting and reforesting that hopefully we're going to limit the amount of loss that we have. So kudos to the tree subcommittee.
God, I'm sure they called and were checking us. I don't know if any of you have been out to Eugene or Springfield or anywhere in the last couple of weeks, but the most insane tree damage I've ever seen. The ice storm just killed like everything. It was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
126 was like unrecognizable. When I drove through it, I was like, this doesn't look right. There's all this light where there's never been light before. So
yeah. Nature's pruning. Here we go.
Truly, we got really lucky though in the last couple storms. So I'm not going to jinx it. I'm going to knock on wood.
Knock on wood, guys. Knock on wood.
Good update.
Awesome. Well, any other items you guys want to cover?
I have nothing.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
then I don't even see it. Sorry, I'm trying to bop back from screen to screen.
I think you can just adjourn.
I think we're ready to adjourn. I'm sorry, my phone's having a freak out. I'm trying to go back to the agenda. It's not working. Well, all right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And it was so nice to meet you, Wade.
Likewise, take care. We'll see you next month.
Awesome.
Yeah, enjoy Hawaii.
Thank you. Woohoo.
See you later. Bye.
See you
Bye,
guys.
See ya.
Bye.